Hello again. In this video, I wanted to present you with a bit of a different approach towards diet and exercise. And the approach that I want to share with you is more of a body-led one, as opposed to what we kind of have now, which is more of a rational kind of head approach to how we approach diet and nutrition. In our culture, it seems like some new studies coming out, it feels like almost every year, where a new diet is associated with it. We're told different information about how much to exercise, what type of exercise to get. And I've always found it so interesting because, if we went to a tribal culture and we sat down with the leader and we said, tell us your secret. How do you guys stay healthy? How do you nourish yourselves? I think the person would look at you so strangely and they'd be like, you guys don't know how to nourish yourself? Like, what happened? And I think, the fact that we're in this conundrum where we literally don't know how to keep ourselves healthy is such a demonstration of the fact that we're so far disconnected, not only from ourselves, but from nature as a whole. And it's, I've been guilty of it myself in practice, talking to people about how much carbohydrate, how much fat, how much protein. But to a certain extent, you need to get into that stuff because people just don't know. But the approach that I want to share with you today is one where we assume that the body knows what it needs. We assume that the body is an incredibly intelligent and complex organism, which it is. And where we kind of work with the body to listen to what it's wanting, what it's craving, what kind of cycles it goes through. And we listen to the body to nourish it the way that it needs to be nourished. So if you are a female and you have a menstrual cycle, you might notice that pre-ovulation, your appetite, your cravings are a little bit different than post-ovulation or, premenstrually. So that's, again, a natural cycle, and that might change. And I do feel like I should mention that certain times there are legitimately not so great things that contribute to that. So hormonal imbalances, for example, can lead to all sorts of issues, and cravings can be one of the symptoms of that. So I'm not saying don't address those things. I'm just saying I think as a society we really need to come back to ourselves, and we need to kind of look at the body in a different manner. So from a diet perspective, one of the things that I think is important to talk about is, are you hungry 3 times a day? Because in our society we have this idea that you need to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, a couple of snacks, you need to have 8 cups of water a day. All of these relatively arbitrary beliefs and assumptions that we have. And my question to you is, does that work for your body? Does your body want that in that kind of regimented, scheduled thing? Or do you notice that, when you wake up, maybe you're not hungry right away. Maybe you're not hungry until 10 o'clock, as opposed to 7 when you wake up, let's say. And just listening to that, just paying attention to the rhythms and the cycles of the body. I often say to patients, don't eat if you're not hungry. If the signal isn't there, then that's okay. Pay attention to that. If the signal is there, feed your body, give it something nutritious. And then, eating until you're satiated, not until you're full, I think is another way to pay attention. I remember years ago I started eating this way, and it's amazing how little you actually need. So, I was used to just eating whatever portion was on the plate, whether I was out at a restaurant or I was at my parents' place, or whether, I'd cooked for myself. But I started to notice, when I started tuning into my body more frequently, what I started to notice is that maybe I don't actually, it doesn't take a lot to satiate me. And I think it's important not to necessarily eat until you're full, because that can really overload the system. But pay attention and see how much it takes for you to be satiated. And of course, especially if you're female, you probably will notice changes in your cycle. A lot of women, for example, are hungrier before their periods. And that's okay. Let that be there. So yeah, only eating when you're hungry, only eating until you're not hungry anymore, as opposed to, until you finish the portion or until you're full. Just like tune into those signs and then notice how you feel after a meal. Are there certain foods that kind of weigh you down and make you feel heavy, or that give you actual symptoms of bloating or gas or pain? Start to notice those things too, because your body is always telling you what it wants and what it doesn't want. Pay attention to thirst as well. I'm totally guilty of this, so I'll just put it right out there. I don't drink enough. But, I'm not often thirsty. So that's, for whatever reason, that's my body's signal. And it's something that I have to pay attention to kind of make sure that I'm hydrated. But if you're thirsty, drink. If you have that signal, make sure that you have water and that you don't put that off. Sometimes people have this also with using the bathroom. So body signals are really important. If you feel like you have to either urinate or have a bowel movement, it's really important to listen to the body in that moment and to respond accordingly. And I think the same goes for food and for water. So just allow your body to lead and let's see what happens. I should mention I'm not, if you're trying to lose weight or whatever, this might be something that's not the right thing for you at this time. But on the other hand, I also think often when people are trying to lose weight, there's such emphasis on how many calories, what should I eat, this and that. And a lot of the joy gets taken out of it. And again, we're sort of paying attention to something outside of ourselves, whether that's science or a medical association or a naturopath, but listen to your body, I think it really is an important thing. And just to bring joy into eating again, because eating should never be something that you feel guilty about or something that brings a negative feeling to you. Exercise. So this is another one. And I was a competitive athlete my entire life, so I know what regimented and structured exercise looks like. And I enjoyed it at the time, for sure. But I think as I've kind of gotten away from that lifestyle, what I enjoy more now is just listening to my body and listening to what it actually wants to do. So I hear this a lot from patients. They're like, I've been committed to exercising 5 days a week, and so I just push myself to do it. And again, my question is, why are we pushing so much? Why are we not listening to the body's cues? So yeah, just listen to those cues, because there are certain times, I see this in myself, certain times where I have a ton of energy and I'm out on my bike or I'm running or doing whatever physical activity, and I don't even necessarily look at my watch. I just keep going until the body says that it's complete. And you'll know, right? I mean, I think most of us are in touch enough to know when our body feels like it's done. But don't freak out if you've set a timer for 45 minutes, let's say, and at half an hour you're feeling like, I actually feel like I'm good. My advice is honor that. Just see how that feels. And I think you'll know the difference between when the body really is complete versus when you're just kind of, it's more of a mental thing. You're kind of lazier than you'd like to be, as opposed to, does the body actually have energy and the capability to keep going? But the point is, I think just don't push so hard. Don't push so hard. Let the body lead the way. Let the body show you what it wants to do. And sometimes people get really committed to a certain type of exercise. They're like, I'm going to run because it's good cardio and it's going to be good for X, Y, Z. But sometimes the body wants something more gentle. Sometimes the body craves yoga. Sometimes the body will crave a stroll. And again, we're not talking about weight loss. We're just talking about maintenance and reconnecting to our body's signals and our body's messages. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that topic. Try it out and see how you feel on it. In my experience, from a personal perspective, it's been really helpful, and it's been very different. Like, I think my eating and movement habits are quite different from the average person. But it feels really good because your body dictates what you need. And I don't push, I don't, I don't kind of force it into what it's supposed to be. I let the body do what it wants to do. It's an incredibly intelligent organism, and I think we need to start listening to it. So give it a try and let me know how it goes. Thanks.